How many of you know what baptism is? How many of you have ever been baptized? Okay, raise your hand again. How many of you have been baptized? Okay. I would dare say, in the way that you believe it, you've never been baptized. See, what did he just say? Get rid of baptism. Why did he say get rid of baptism? Do you honestly believe that sticking your head in a bucket of water pleases some oracle on some planet somewhere and says, you know, I'll take care of you as long as you stick your head in water. You'll really turn me on if you wet your head. Otherwise, I want no part of you. Watch. In Greek, okay, you have 5 stages of consciousness. It starts, earth is the mind. Water is the second stage of consciousness that you enter through meditation. The third stage of consciousness is air. The fourth stage of consciousness is fire. And then the renewed mind. Okay? Therefore, you take that which is your mind, you take it into meditation, you elevate it to the second stage of consciousness, which is water. You've now been baptized in water. You raise out of the water into the third stage where there is no thought. That's air. That's the third stage of consciousness. When you rise out of air, you are then touched by fire, which is the spirit, which is the fourth stage of consciousness. That's baptism. And I would dare say that you will probably not find one fundamentalist Christian in this country who's ever been baptized. Otherwise, you have to be left with the thought that baptism means sticking your head in water. But when you see this and you understand the mystique of this and where this comes from, this is a Buddhic principle. They come up to Jesus and they say to Jesus, where the heck do you get the authority to tell people what you tell people? And you know what Jesus said to him in this book? I'll tell you where I got the authority. You tell me where John got the authority to baptize people, and I'll tell you where I got my authority from. And John got his authority to baptize from the Buddhists, and Jesus got his authority to say the things that he did about the inner kingdom from the same place. So if baptism is taking your mind and putting it into water, that means raising in meditation to the second stage of consciousness, which is water, which is where truth comes from. And then rising out of water into the next stage, which is air, which is no thought, freedom from thought, separation from thought, elevation into nirvanic consciousness. You're in the air. That's why it says in the Bible, we will rise and meet Jesus in the air. But you go into a Christian bookstore and they'll show you pictures of people flying up into the sky. They call it rapture. Not realizing that it means rising within yourself into a third stage of consciousness, into a nirvanic bliss of thinking, and there you're touched by God. Rapture. Let me tell you, when I was in a fundamentalist, we used to sing a song, I'll see you in the rapture, I'll meet you. We're all going to fly up into the moon. And we're going to fly right through the ceilings. You're going to go over Kennedy Airport and dodge in 747s, flying up to God. Do you know something? When Jesus ascended into the air, did you ever see Jesus' ascension? If he ascended in the speed of light 2,000 years ago, do you know he wouldn't even be out of this solar system yet? He's still going. They're waiting for him to come back. He hasn't even gotten there yet. God's up saying, where the hell is that kid? He never's on time. He's still up trying to get. Because, you know why do they think things like that? Because they don't understand science. Rapture is a Buddhist term. Rapture is one of the 10 worlds of Shakyamuni Buddha, which is one of the 10 aspects of universal consciousness. It means snatching up, lifting up, raising yourself from here up into the higher realms of consciousness, into the divine mind. And so you enter rapture when you lift yourself from the lower mind into the second stage of consciousness and into the air. And so you rise to meet Jesus with you. So now what happens? You get a Bible. You have another guy named John in Palestine, the Baptist, okay? He says he will baptize with water. You become John when you take a person and bring them into meditation. You are then John. But there is another who will baptize with fire. You can't baptize with fire. You can lead a person to that second stage of consciousness by introducing them to meditation. Once they reach that second stage of meditation, then another will come, which is within them, who will baptize with fire. And that's the fourth stage of consciousness, which is the spiritual stage of consciousness. That's what baptism is all about. It has nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with sticking your head in water. But what do people do? They stick their head in water. They will always stick their head in water because they take it literally. The Apostle Paul in this book said, be not a minister of the letter. Don't take this literally. What about the Old Testament? What about the stories of Abraham and Sarah and having babies at 90 years old and 100 years old and all of those types of things? Let me show you something. Go to page